In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Saffiyah Grace, and today we're diving into an issue that lies at the core of our nation's future, public education. As the 2024 election heats up, former President Donald Trump is taking a hard stance on education, pledging to eliminate the Department of Education and fight against programs that support diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, let's talk a bit about the Department of Education itself. It was created in 1979 to address the growing need for central support in our schools, ensuring every student, regardless of background, could access a quality education. Today, the department's mission is more important than ever as we work to preserve a truthful, inclusive, and accurate understanding of our history. That brings me to something important. Right now, there's a push to remove or revise parts of history, which opens the door to dangerous lies and damaging stereotypes. Why is it so harmful and racist to spread falsehoods about specific groups of people, such as saying things like, they are eating your dogs and cats? Here's why. Statements like these promote dehumanization, creating a divide by associating an entire group with extreme, unfounded practices. Not only does this fuel harmful stereotypes, but it also perpetuates racist narratives that paint certain people as other or somehow inferior. When falsehoods are repeated and accepted, they make discrimination and harassment feel justified, eroding trust, community cohesion, and even democracy itself. This is exactly why accurate history and education matter. They guard against these kinds of lies that can tear us apart. In this video, we'll explore the critical role of truth in our public education system and why the fight to keep history accurate is about more than just facts. It's about safeguarding the principles of equality, empathy, and justice in our democracy.
I was very struck by the famous eating cats and dogs phrase.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
And everybody laughed at it and they said, ha ha ha, that's very funny. And this struck me as an example of people lying in a way, even though everybody knows they're lying. And the purpose of the lie was to demonstrate their power. We can lie. We can do whatever we want. We can say whatever we want about these people, and it doesn't affect us. And the fact that they never retracted it, despite the fact that people in Springfield were up in arms, and everybody who's done any reporting, journalists have been to Springfield, have asked people, are there any dogs or cats being eaten? And people say no. It's a way of showing power. So we can lie, and everybody else is going to go along with our lie when we win the election.
You know, something that's been much remarked upon in autocratic systems, sort of truth and power sort of switch roles. You know, we think of truth challenging power and holding the powerful, by account with the truth. You know, when I lived in Russia and my first book, Nothing is True and Everything is Possible, was all about this, how truth didn't play that role anymore. Mm-hmm. Truth was about showing your loyalty, showing whose side you're on, and, subservient to power.
They're creating around themselves a kind of alternative community where if you're inside our world, we say whatever we want the truth to be, and everybody joins in.
And also rubbishing the idea of truth. I mean, what comes with that is truth stops being about information and analysis. It's about making a point, saying whose side you're on. Even the more absurd the lie that you say shows even more, look at my team, look whose side I'm on. And Vance was fascinating. He's a very fascinating character, something right out of some of the darkest Russian novels, because he kind of intellectualizes this, because he's also a writer and someone who thinks about, language a lot, clearly. And when he went on air and said, oh yeah, I made this up and I'll keep on making things up because truth doesn't matter. Something else matters.
Trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
Lessons from History, Part 1. The best guarantee against a democracy descending into autocracy is a broadly educated voter base. And the only way to achieve that on a grand scale is strong public education. We all know the cliche that history repeats itself, but if you've been following me long enough, or you've studied history, you know this is not true. We know history doesn't repeat itself, but it does instruct. It serves as a sign for telling us if we do something really bad that led to really, really bad things before, it's kind of likely that this will happen again. So, for instance, if we erode democratic institutions now, it's very likely that the end is not going to be very pretty. So in the next few videos, I'm going to discuss the lessons history has left us regarding the preservation of democracy and freedoms. The recent events in Israel are a great reminder for all of us of the lessons we must learn and relearn and relearn. So here we go. Lesson number 1. Democracy depends on a critical mass of reasonably educated individuals who understand what I just said about the lessons of history. Such people will never fall into cheap religious or political rhetoric or follow the strong leader because he, it's almost always a he, will solve all of our political and social problems. There's always a strong guy, right? There's always the person who says, I'm going to fix what all of these other guys couldn't fix. In all recent or not so recent examples of anti-democratic movements that actually gained popularity and then even came to power, there was significant dependency on under or uneducated voters. Not only the uneducated, but it would not have happened without them. Mussolini in Italy, the Nazis in Germany, and more recent examples, Erdogan in Turkey, Duterte in the Philippines, Duda in Poland, Orban in Hungary, Trump in the US, and now, of course, Netanyahu in Israel. All of these leaders were broadly supported by under or uneducated voters. Some were more successful than others in dismantling democracy and human rights, and none have gone as far as the Nazis have, but they still all sit comfortably on the same axis of the powerful, strong, determined leaders, such as Donald Trump and Netanyahu. And so, how do we defend ourselves? With strong public education that reaches everyone. This lesson is often hard for people to see because there's usually a gap of 30, 40, or 50 years between the decision to underfund or unfund certain aspects of public education and the success of such leaders in the polls. And so the lesson here is very simple. Never ever vote for politicians who call for underfunding or unfunding public education. It's a bad investment for the future.
It's not anything to do with school choice, also.
Okay.
But also, separate from school choice, we're going to take the Department of Education, close it. I'm going to close it. We'll have one person, could be you if you decide to retire.
Okay, Mr. President, here's what bothers
Central casting.
here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would say, eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.